Paul McKenna on LMFM.
Now, just before the ad break, we mentioned that we would have Andrew Brennan, Meath native, in studio. Andrew, I'm right in saying that you're only 33 years of age, is that correct?
I am indeed.
You're 33. Okay. And I suppose, where to start with this? I suppose the best thing to do is to let you talk the listener through it, because I mean, only a short while back, when exactly were you actually diagnosed with terminal motor neuron disease, the condition?
I was diagnosed in late February 2015. It all began in January 2015. I went into my local GP just for a routine thing. He noticed some muscle wastage and muscle twitching in my right hand and arm. Looked concerned and said we might get this checked out. I attended a clinic in Beaumont, which I now know is a motor neuron clinic, and I was asked to come in for a few tests. There I spent 7 days in Beaumont where they ran various tests, and on the 7th day they broke the news that I had motor neuron disease.
When you were sitting in front of your GP, and whether your GP is male or female, I don't know, but when they first broke the news to you, or rather when they first, I suppose, raised concerns that there was some muscle wastage, would you ever have imagined that at this point in time now this is what you'd be facing? No.
Right up until the morning of the diagnosis, I had no idea what it was.
But you were worried? I
knew something was up, but I had no idea.
And was there any point before you were told about the wasting of the muscle that you were feeling unwell, or that perhaps you felt lacking in strength, or was there any sort of sign that something wasn't right?
I knew there was a small issue with my right hand and arm with the twitching, but I passed it off to be a pulled muscle or something. I was busy with work and a family, so I never really thought much of it. But it was going on for about a year before I had went into the GP for that routine thing.
And how do they weigh up the odds as in regards of somebody actually being diagnosed with motor neuron disease?
Well, there's no definite test. They diagnose motor neuron disease by basically just ruling everything else out. So I spent 7 days in Beaumont where they ran various tests, MRI scans, they did a lumbar puncture, and they ruled absolutely everything else out, and motor neuron is what they were left with. And on diagnosis, they gave me an average timeline of 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years before it impacts to its fullest.
3 to 5 years before, so I'll pass away from the condition.
Right. So it's not a case that you would be in a wheelchair and that you'd need a house adapted and so on and so on. This is going to be...
That will all happen in time.
Yeah.
But the average timeline for a person with motor neuron disease is 3 to 5 years.
And how do you go on a daily basis facing that knowledge that now you've been told that this is where it will come to an end for you?
Well, at the start, I was in a very dark place. I wasn't the nicest person to be around. We went through plenty of different stages: grieving, shock, anger, denial. One day I just decided that I wasn't going to let it get the better of me, and I said, look, it hasn't beaten me yet, so we'll take one day at a time and see how it goes.
Now you mentioned as well that you're a family man. How has this affected your children and your extended family?
Well, I mean, it doesn't just affect me, it affects the whole family. It's not a case that I have motor neuron disease, it's a case that myself and my wife, we have motor neuron disease because she has to help me in everyday tasks. I need assistance in the toilet, in the shower, getting dressed. I suppose as much as I have to go through the progression of the condition, my wife has to assist and witness me do it.
If I were you, I would be an extremely angry individual. You seem to have sort of overcome that, because I mean, you're actually a good 10, 12, 13 years younger than me. At such a young age, have you got that amount of anger in you as it's like, why me?
Yeah, I did have for a long time. I was bitter for a long time, but I came to the point where I said that I can let it get the better of me, or I can continue on. So sometimes I take a day at a time, sometimes an hour at a time. Sometimes I need to take time out to myself and just have my own thoughts. But I just take each day as it comes, and I'm grateful for each day as it comes.
Do you feel it makes you more grateful?
I do, yeah. I listen to people go on at the minute complaining about the greatest load of baloney, if you want to say. There's more important things to life than some of the stuff people take for granted and complain about.
It puts everything in context.
It does indeed, yes.
How do you like people now? How do you feel you prefer people to approach you and deal with you now? Because the natural thing is, and even from speaking now myself, is people want to be sympathetic. They want to sort of, and that's just human nature. But you're in a different place now because you have, I suppose, for the most part, come to terms with it. You don't mind people being overly sympathetic and going, oh my God, and that sort of approach, or would you rather they just dealt with it the way you're dealing with it?
A lot of people are shocked at the start. Some people don't know what to say. I don't particularly like sympathy. I'm still me. I have this illness and I cannot do a lot of the things that I used to be able to do. Sometimes it's hard to ask for help. I have to ask for assistance in certain things, and I feel sometimes slightly ashamed to have to ask for that help. But no, I want people to just act normal around me.
Just as though there's nothing wrong.
Yeah,
you're still Andrew.
I'm still me. I'm still Andrew. I'm still the person they knew. I mightn't be able to walk as quick or run or climb stairs, but that's just all part of the condition.
The GoFundMe side of it, and I know you were saying before we came on that you haven't at this point in time drawn up a final figure, but I mean there is a fundraising campaign being run by, I think is it your wife your sister, Laura?
Yes, it's many family members and friends are getting together a committee to begin fundraising for me for an adapted vehicle and maybe anything else I might need further down the line. They can see that I'm beginning to struggle with different things while driving. I struggle turning the key to start the car. I'm struggling to change the gears. They know that there's going to come a time where I don't need an adapted vehicle to help me keep my independence, or I'll have to face the fact that I'll have to give up driving. I still enjoy doing things like, my eldest girl Aoife is 3. She's now attending a play school, and I like to get up early in the morning and drop her over to the play school, and I want to try and continue to do that for as long as I can,
because they're the important memories.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, not only for her but certainly for you.
Definitely.
And how are they aware at this point in time that there's something so drastic now coming down the line?
No.
Or is that something you've tried to protect them from?
I know a lot of people that have older children that have had to sit down and discuss it with them. My 2 girls are too young, and in a way I'm happy because I don't think I'd have it in me to explain it to them. Yeah,
well, one parent to another, I can fully understand that would be the case. The GoFundMe page, the address of that is, if we can just get that out there now, because I know it's very, very important, and as I say, you haven't come up with a definitive amount of money, but certainly it's not going to come cheap. But what's the address of that?
Well, there was a Facebook page set up for me called Andrew's Fight Against MND. Together there's a link on the page to a GoFundMe fundraising page. So I suppose if anyone was interested in reading my story, they could go onto the Facebook page and go through the link to the GoFundMe.
And they can donate whatever amount, no matter how small, how large it is. Just a couple of other questions, Andrew, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned that, it was starting to affect you now at work and the like, but what was it you were working at, or are working at even?
Well, I'm a newspaper printer by trade. I left school in O'Carroll College in Nobo after the junior cert. I was always interested in the printing trade, so I got a job in Navan in the Meat Chronicle just as a general operative. I was taken up onto the printing press as a helper, and then I was offered an apprenticeship. I moved around the country. I worked in Cork, I worked in Offaly, I worked here in Drogheda for the best part of 10 years. But a lot of these new printing presses have a lot of flights of stairs, and you need to do 12-hour shifts on your feet and be extremely quick and be able to climb stairs to solve problems, and it was just kind of getting the better of me. So unfortunately I was forced to retire.
And that's a very, very strange irony there. You mentioned the newspapers, because a lot of people then, I mean, you were saying off air that this is, what your illness is, your condition is a progressive illness, and that the mind will remain the same, but certainly the body will struggle to keep up with the mind.
Yeah.
And that a lot of people will pick up a newspaper most days, if they still read newspapers these days, and they'll take that for granted, but that's something that you won't be able to do in maybe...
Yeah.
You may be down to audio books or have someone read it to you, perhaps.
Yeah, no two people with the condition are the same. The brain sends messages to the body, but the messages don't get to certain parts of the body, which leads to the muscles dying away and wasting away, therefore leaving the patient paralysed. Many patients will lose their ability to speak, to walk, to swallow, and eventually to breathe.
Andrew, listen, I really appreciate you coming in. Thank you very, very much. And I know we've taken our photograph for our Twitter feed as well. And that's just by some way for people, I suppose, to identify with you as well facially. They see that you're such a young gentleman coming in to speak to us about such a tragic thing. And the way your life has been turned upside down. And I can only imagine that it has been turned upside down.
Yeah, well, it's never going to be the same, but we try to keep things as normal as possible.
Yeah.
I suppose my family are hoping to fund me this adapted vehicle to help me hold on to my independence for as long as possible.
Okay. Andrew, thank you very, very much for coming in.
Thank
I
you very
really
much,
appreciate it. And if I may wish you a very, very happy new year as well.
And to you a very happy
and
new year.
Thank you indeed for coming in. And that GoFundMe page, once again, for Andrew, is GoFundMe.com, and it's / Andrew's Fight Against MNDILS. You can go there, and it doesn't matter if it's pocket money amounts of money, if it's massive amounts of money or in between, anything that's at all certainly will go some way to help Andrew fund the things that he was speaking about, be it an adapted vehicle or perhaps changes to his home or anything like that makes his life easier in order to get through those coming years as well. But Andrew, indeed, thank you again.
Thank you.
Paul McKenna on LMFM.